you guys got going on this morning?
Making pickles.
Pickles. So what's up?
You're gonna boil the jars first.
Alright, boiling jars.
Being sterilized, and then over
Very-
here we've got the
Oh my.
pickles.
And then we sterilize the lids.
Oh my. That's good. What is this contraption?
This is to get the jars out. So once these start to boil, then they're ready and we can take them out. And then we fill it with these. And then they go back in the boiling water for 10 minutes. And then you can take them out and then they're vacuum sealed, but you have to listen if they're vacuum sealed.
Awesome. Thank you. I can't wait. Are you guys going to do jalapenos too? Pickled
I'm doing that
jalapenos?
next.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
I need like a slotted spoon now.
Oh, that's what I got the other thing for. Get that round one over here.
Trish, what's going on?
My bacon.
Bacon.
Back in the boiling water.
Yum.
The water doesn't go in there. Alright, 10 minutes, right?
So what does boiling then do again?
Vacuum seals the jars.
Yep. So after we take them out, there should be a little metallic ping.
Once they cool on the counter.
Yeah, and you should be able to take the ring off and just hold it by the metal part that's sitting on there,
Seal.
and it should be sealed.
Cool. So 10 minutes. Missed it. You guys pulled
Hold
them out.
on, another
before-
one.
No,
gonna
there's
be-
no. It's only this one that did.
Alright, so we're waiting to see if they pull down. One did. There we go.
Is it that one or no?
Yeah, it was that back one.
Well, that was Lillian and Chantel this morning canning for the first time. Lillian's wanted to do that ever since we've moved out here, and well, she's heading off to college in the fall, and so she really pressed. And so her and her mom have really are going to decide. Well, Lillian and Chantel are going to do a lot of canning this summer, especially since we have a lot of stuff actually coming out of our garden, which we'll get to in a second. But I promised in the last video we're going to do some quick updates of things on the farm. First that we're going to start with is this upper field, which if you go to this link, you'll see the origin of what's happening up here is our collaboration with Mark at I Am Organic Gardening and trying to transition this field, which had really poor dirt, into a field with fertile soil that will become a no-till field for us. But if you remember, we planted sunflower seeds. We had a 20-pound bag of gray stripe sunflower seeds from Tractor Supply for 20 bucks, and we did some test plots, and these are the test plots right here. This is the test plot that had chicken manure on it, and you can see I don't have a lot of experience with growing sunflowers, but they seem, well, it seems like that gray striped sunflower seeds could be as tall as seven feet tall, which would be a foot taller than I am. These seem to have peaked out at about 3 feet, but you can see they're putting on some flowers, and this one is probably the tallest. If you look at, this is the area where we had just done sunflower seeds with no chicken manure or composted chicken manure or wood chips, so you can see how tall they are, but they're also starting to set flowers on these as well. And if you come down, come on, this was the plot that we put in, I think just wood chips, and then that was just another, or this was wood chips and chicken manure, sorry, wood chips and chicken manure here. And again, they're starting to set flower heads. And then we've got just this was again just a patch down here was just wood chips. So just the wood chips, composted wood chips, are clearly the least germination and also they're the shortest in height in terms of growing. So if you look at the difference between these, it's pretty dramatic what just the chicken manure did up there. But if you look at the whole field, as we said, we ended up tilling the whole pasture and just seeding. And so you can see we have got a lot of germination of sunflower seeds. This area over here that is recently tilled, for whatever reason, we just didn't get a lot of germination there. So we reseeded that whole area. So we'll end up, I guess, having a succession of blooms up to us some point. So we had several areas you can see where we just didn't get a lot of germination. So we went back and tilled in and replanted with seeds. So there are sunflower seeds coming up everywhere. Real quick, something we've not talked a lot about is the orchard we're trying to put in. So we've got some peach trees up, and we've actually got some peaches growing on this peach tree. They're probably not going to be really viable. I think the bugs have really gotten to them just because they're not big enough. We don't have enough fruit, and doing this organically, we haven't really stayed on top of them. We're not really interested in harvesting this year anyways, but we're going to be tilling up and removing the grass underneath these and bringing in wood chips and doing a back to Eden process here as well of building up mulch around these trees. So we've got a bunch of apple trees. We've got 4 apple trees and 7 peach trees. We've also got some other fruit trees in the other part of our garden as well. All right, now let's go out to the garden. All right, well, I think we showed at some point in one of the videos that we were putting in corn. Isaac, what did we put in, like 500 corn seeds in this area? And you can see this is a place where we just threw them in, and we're trying to get these things to go. And you can see some of them are doing pretty well right here in this area. So it seems like the soil in this area was just better. There was more nutrients here. And as we got farther away, the dirt at that point just didn't have a lot in it. And you can see a real difference both in germination rate and also how the plants are doing. So we're committed to trying to get corn. So we came in today, we weeded. We've still got to come in and weed in between the plants, but we weeded in between the rows and added wood chips and mulch, compost in between here. We also added about 6 pounds of organic blood meal on the plants. So hopefully that'll put a lot of organic nitrogen into the plants, and we're watering heavily. So hopefully we're going to be able to push the corn plants to come along, and we'll actually get a corn harvest this year, which would be pretty exciting. I mean, if nothing else, it looks like this area will do pretty well. Some of the other areas might not do as well. And Isaac just went in and reseeded those places that didn't germinate. He reseeded those, so we may get a succession of harvest on the sweet corn. So we put in some green beans in this area right next to the corn. Similar thing, we tilled this up. We know that the soil is not very good. There's not a lot of nutrients in it, but we put in some green beans in here, and we've had mixed results. Some of them are doing pretty well. The deer came in here and ate some of them, which we have since added this deer fence, which we talked about in a previous video of putting up. So that has kept the deer from getting in here and eating any more of the green beans. We've also, Isaac, you reseeded this as well, right? So I think he came in and added more green beans where they didn't come up or didn't do well. And then on that back row, we came in today and added wood chips and some composted wood chips in here in between the rows. And then we've created that back row, which we're going to plant some more pickling cucumbers, and also some crookneck squash. So we're going to do those with cattle panels between T-posts. So we'll show you that once we do it. Hopefully tomorrow we'll get that in so that they've got something to grow up on. We'll do the same thing with the green beans, hopefully. But if you look at them, some of them are just not, we've just not done a lot with gardening, but some of the green beans look fine. They're green and pretty healthy, and some of them look pretty anemic and yellow. So if anybody has more experience with green beans and they can tell us what's up with that or what they need, please leave it in the comments below. I'd love to get the feedback so that we could try and get some healthy green beans going this year. Again, a big part of it is that the soil up here in the garden, why we're trying to do the back to Eden garden method, is because we know that the dirt just is poor, and so we're trying to build the soil. But if we can get some things jump started organically up here and get some produce out of it, that would be great. Okay, now we'll head over to the back to Eden garden. So this is our back to Eden garden, and Mark at I Am Organic thankfully suggested to us the idea of doing raised beds in the wood chips, which saved us. Truthfully, we were going to wait, thinking we had to wait a couple of years for some of these wood chips to decompose so that we would have fertile soil that we could grow things in. And again, if you haven't seen this video, he showed us or suggested to us pulling apart with a tractor the wood chips and putting compost in it so that we could have a garden. And it is coming along great. So if Isaac comes along, so we've got sugar snap peas, which we have harvested a bunch of peas from. These are green onions that we bought from the grocery store and used them in a recipe and cut them down to the little nibs with just those little bits of roots left. And we stuck them in the ground up here. And if you look at this, we've got a whole new, from those same stubs, we've got these green onions. We've got a lot of tomatoes growing over here. So these are red beefsteaks, which look at how many there are on there. And these are big boys. These are the purple Cherokee purples, which we've never really had success with, and they just seem to struggle for us. But anyways, we've got some tomatoes on them. And then these are Better Boy, which you can see there's a lot of tomatoes on here doing really well. Our onions have done fantastic. We've harvested already a bunch of them. These are sweet Texas sweet onions, and oh my gosh, they are incredible, really good onions. So lots of pepper plants. So these are sweet bananas, and obviously doing really well. And green bell, which we just put in, and then this is a jalapeno, which you can see all the jalapenos coming on here, and Chantel and Lillian already took a bunch and jarred those, preserved those today. These are poblanos coming on here, yellow bell peppers, and this down here, I think these are red bell peppers over here, basil, and what is this? I don't have my glasses. Isaac, can you read that?
Bonnie Original.
Bonnie Original. Look at this thing. So it's already got, I don't know, Isaac, if you can zoom in here, but we've already got, can you see that? We've already got 2 tomatoes that are ripening up significantly. And beans, can't remember what these beans are. We threw a lot of things in here, and they haven't really produced anything of yet, but I guess there we go. We're starting to get, so they're going to be green beans. Got squash that is doing nicely, although I'm not sure why some of these stalks, leaves have started turning a little bit yellow. We've been really vigilant about going after the squash bugs and eggs coming out here every day and getting those off of here. And then we've got these cucumbers, pickling cucumbers. They're white pickles, white cucumber pickles. So that's what Lillian and Chantel were canning today. Early girl tomato, and you can see it has set a lot of tomatoes all over it. We've started new onions, starts all along in here, some radishes that need to come out, and some beets that need to come out. And then we've got husky cherry red, can't remember which one that is, and then Romas down at the end. Roma's over there. We've got Beauregard sweet potatoes coming in here, some field peas, which are doing okay, not great. More sweet potatoes down there, a whole row of the Beauregard sweet potatoes. And then this last row back here is a mix of butternut and acorn squash that seem to be doing extremely well. All right, we'll go look at the watermelons. All right, and then in this last area, which we're going to be This will be another back to Eden garden, similar to the one. So if, Isaac, you can pan across, you'll see the back to Eden garden over here with the raised beds with compost in it. So we're gonna do the same thing over here. We've had wood chips continue to be delivered, but we wanted to grow some watermelons, and we were starting to run out of compost and soil to put seeds in or do. We couldn't really do a whole row. So our idea was to dig out holes inside of these wood chips about the size of a 5-gallon bucket and fill them with compost, and then put the seeds, watermelon seeds, in here. So you can see the watermelons are doing really well inside of these wood chips. A last little, one of a couple of last little things is that for our bees, one of the things, I just watched a great video on YouTube, a lecture by an apiary, an apiist, beekeeper, who was talking about really versus planting annual plants for bees. If you have a farm, the idea of planting trees, which will get much larger, produce many more flowers year after year with very little work, for your bees to forage on. And one of the great plants, trees for that purpose, is sourwood, because of the flowers that it produces. So we have a lot of sourwood growing on our property, and went into the woods and harvested or dug up some of these sourwood saplings that were starting to come up. Now these are understory trees that were never going to get enough sun to actually produce flowers. So I thought, well, if I could dig up some of these small plants as a test, put them in pots and get them to come out here. So we've got a number of them that you can see, from even a very small one to a bigger one and kind of a medium-sized one. Now, obviously, when we dug them up, initially there was a shock and they dropped a lot of their leaves, but they are starting, as you can see, to put out new leaves on the plants. So we have some hope that these actually might be trees that we could transplant onto the farm in places where in full sun every year they would produce a lot of flowers. One other thing before we wrap up this video is that the birds were really wreaking havoc on our blackberries. And these blackberries are really wonderful, super tasty, thornless blackberries that we've worked pretty hard on. So an additional benefit that I didn't think about of creating this structure on this raised bed with the blackberries, and we've run this fence so that the blackberries can go up through these fences and we have a way of controlling them. But an additional benefit on both this and the blueberries is that these frames provide a structure for us to run bird netting over very easily to protect the fruit from, well, the dozen or more birds that were coming out here every day and helping themselves to our blackberries. All right, let's go look at the silk trees and we'll wrap up the quick tour here at the silk tree in our yard, which we've got two large ones. Well, Isaac, if you could pan over and see that one over there, and this one here, which is covered with these blooms. Some people call them mimosa trees, but these are technically silk trees. They're not mimosa trees. But when we first moved out here, I have to be honest, I thought they are the messiest, biggest weed tree. When they drop their seeds, they have something like 110% germination rate. It's unbelievable. These things will come up everywhere. And it was my goal when we first bought this farm. I thought, I'm going to get rid of every one of these silk trees. Well, we ended up getting bees, and guess what? In the middle of June and into July, when there isn't a big nectar flow going on anywhere else from anything else, we have these trees, and we've got them a bunch of places, volunteers all over our farm. So we've stopped cutting them down and we let them go, and the bees really love these trees. When you come out here during the day, once the bees really get on them, you can hear the tree humming. It's also really cool because the hummingbirds are all over this as well. I mean, they're really, and of course hummingbirds are kind of territorial, so they'll chase each other away, but you can really hear the tree buzz with all of the bees in it. So as they're putting that nectar in, we end up with silk tree honey in our hives, which we'll be harvesting in a couple of weeks. So that's really great. And then the other thing that at the time we didn't think about was when all those seed pods fall down from this, because our chickens are truly free ranged, pastured, they come and will tear apart all those seed pods and eat the seeds out of them. So really, we actually don't have the problem that we did of this being a weed tree all over the place. It ends up being mutually beneficial. They are beautiful trees. You can see the flowers on them. They're really pretty, but it feeds the bees. It ends up feeding the chickens, and they are pretty vigorous and healthy. They grow very, very quickly. So if you're gonna have bees and you got chickens, I would possibly recommend you consider growing these, because they grow really fast and they seem pretty bomb-proof. Well, that's it. That is a whirlwind quick update of all the things that we've got going on the farm, and we'll try and bring you along soon. We're going to get into firewood here, so that's not the most exciting thing. Well, it is to me, but may not be to you guys. But we're going to have to put up a lot of cut and split a lot of firewood and get that put up. So until the next video, thanks again for watching. We'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care and God bless.